Today I'm putting another pattern to the test that I've had on my list to get to for so long. As per usual, my illness of not being able to follow something perfectly will be coming into play because I have a few hacks that I want to experiment with. I am following along a pattern, so it'll be more of a sew along, let's have a chat. If you want the specific steps, I will link the pattern for this below, but I will tell you how I make my little hacks and changes and my approaches to that. So maybe that can be some inspiration of how you can approach it differently, think about adding your own personal flair. I'm excited. I've genuinely had this on my list for probably almost a year. So the pattern is a vest from Swim Style Patterns. They're a local Australian brand. I have this beautiful wool material that I have had laying around. I've got quite a bit from it, so I reckon eventually I can make like a whole set out of it. It is a woven wool in this beautiful brown tone, and I think it will just look so beautiful as a vest. Eventually I feel like a little mini skirt, even like a Chanel inspired jacket could be very cool if I have enough. So that's the vision, we'll see how we go. Then I've also got this checkered cotton material. And this is just a cotton poplin, nice thin, lightweight. And I feel like the pattern doesn't say to line it, I think from memory. I want to try line the material with this, and if I finish it in the right style, maybe it could be double-sided. And if I achieve the goal in my mind that I have, then I can wear it both ways. I love being able to get two products out of one. The dream. We'll see how we go with that. I think the girls that created this pattern use a lot of knitted materials like rib knits, jersey, stuff like that. Just suits the style. Neither of these are stretchy, but they are leaning on the warmer side. I'm wanting it to be an outer layer. That's my hot take on the fabrics. And then for the rest of the sewing, I've just got my go-to essentials, some pins. I've also added these clips to my sewing essentials recently. I find there are just sometimes where this is easy and more beneficial, and then sometimes pins are more handy. So I have both options on hand. I've also got my measuring tape, my fabric scissors, some matching thread to my material. I've got a clean, long paintbrush, which I think will come in handy at one point for these straps that I want to add to a certain section. And then as well, I'm going to need some paper scissors because I'm going to cut out the pattern, and then just my trusty old sewing machine, and I can jump into it. Now let me talk you through the changes. Like I mentioned, I'm going to add this to the lining, and hopefully that becomes double-sided. I'm also going to leave the side bits open and add a tie strap feature so it can be a bit more on the flowy, oversized fit, and then also just have that cute effect on the side. I think that'll just be fun, especially if I am layering it over dresses or puffy sleeve stuff with pants and whatnot. Worst comes to worst, I can just sew it all closed up, but I'm gonna aim to have a tie open side feature. Rightio, I've got all the goods, now I'm gonna cut out my pattern. I think I mentioned this in my last pattern video. I am definitely one who prefers to just get it printed as an A0 size. I think that's what it is. That way I don't have to print out on my home printer like 20 A4 pages and then stick it all together and then cut it out. I swear that genuinely ends up taking a whole day. So I'm like, might as well just pay a few dollars, send it off to a local Officeworks or printer place. And now all I have to do is just cut this out, figure out what size. Actually, that's one thing I need to do. Probably go in medium. Lay it on the ground, put some weights on it, cut her out. With patterns, there's always normally a line or a box or something to check that it has printed to scale. What do you know? It says that should be 50 centimeters and that is 50 centimeters. Success. Before we jump into bringing this vest to life, I just want to say a massive thank you to the sponsor of today's video, which is Skillshare. I very naturally lean into my creative side, and I feel like I just need a little bit more guidance whenever I want to tap into my more logical or strategic mindset, especially when it comes to more business related stuff. So I'm finally making it happen and leveling up by exploring these categories within Skillshare to set up better practices to suit me. The class Build Your Dream Business by Isis Brianna has been the perfect foundation into this world of intentional marketing, which is something I've really shied away from, but I know I would definitely benefit from. As someone whose hobby and just general joy has become my full-time income, I have to remind myself to take this seriously and help set myself up for success as best as possible, and making the most of Skillshare is actioning that. This is just the start, and I can't wait to explore more classes across the platform. So if you're a fellow creative who wants to access thousands of classes led by industry pros across film, illustration, design, freelance, productivity, and so much more, then make the most of this offer where the first 500 people to use the link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thanks so much again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into bringing this vest to life. I've officially officially cut out all the paper pieces. Now I'm gonna lay them down. A few of them need to be cut on the fold, so I'll figure out those placements. And then I'll trim it all out. Surely this won't take me that long. I think if I just cut out all these pieces in the main outer material, I only need these 2 pieces for the lining. I've got the front, the back, I think that's the neckline, the shoulder edges. Then I've also got the front and back in the lining material, which I'm going to figure out how I add it in. And I think I just remembered I need to actually cut out 2 more pieces, actually 4 more pieces, which I am intending to create the tie out of. So I'll do that afterwards, but that's fine, I can figure it out. And I've just opened up the video tutorial, which is linked with the pattern, and I'm gonna start watching it. If you hear any snoring, it's just Roscoe. While I sit here and you're watching me from this angle, I've got a little pig watching me from this angle. Hey baby, are you snoring? Little sleepy pig. Lucky you're cute. I just need to not overthink. That's when I hold myself back and nothing gets complete. What I'm thinking with the lining is I'm gonna join the outer material and then the lining material at these shoulder sections, and then I can try and match them up and figure out how to do the next bit. I've still got to add my thread in, so while I do that, let me know below what you guys are working on at the moment. I feel like when I'm not working on like explaining a tutorial, it's a good time to just have a chat and catch up. I think after I make this vest, I've got a secondhand denim jumpsuit and love the fit of it on the top, don't love the fit of it on the bottom. So I'm gonna play around with the method of splitting open the side seams and slotting in an extra panel of denim, so then it widens it, makes it nice and loose how I want it to be. Do I just like make it try and blend in, or do I do something funky? I don't know, we'll see. A video that I really wanna create is I wanna go through all my screenshots, create a mood board out of it, and properly like organize it and have it visually either somewhere on my laptop or even print it out and have it out here, so that I know and remember all the things that I want to create, because I feel like the Pinterest boards, the saved posts, the screenshots, they're all overflowing, and I just need to help myself about not forgetting it, and also just be fun to talk about it and see what you guys would like me to prioritize making and sharing. I'm also loving boat neck style tops and also shift dresses. Like that could be fun to experiment with. Anyway, like I said, I've got so much saved that I want to make. I'll make a day of going through it. I've laid these good sides facing, and now I'm going to sew across the shoulder section. I always find it fascinating. Like obviously if you've followed my channel, or if maybe if you're new here, I do a lot of self-drafting. I'm very basic in the way that I approach it, just trying to do things simple. But I love seeing the little extra details that people create in patterns. I'm like, wow, that actually makes sense. Not that I'm going to steal any ideas, but it's just good to get little finishing detail inspirations. Is the machine on? No. First line done. Step 1, potato sack, looking good. Okay, I feel like that's that one done. Okay, let's iron and then I'll keep talking. This is my mini iron that came with my Cricut machine. She's not the biggest and most efficient thing, but she does the job, especially for seams. Amazing. My friend is having a little sunset picnic this afternoon. What's the time? Holy shit. Maybe not. Well, originally my plan was to get it done in time for that, but I feel like I actually need to go in like half an hour. Wow, that's really annoying. Okay, fold it with the good sides out. This is where I get delusional about sewing. I'm like, all I've got to do is 2 seams. How long can that take me? It can take a long time. It can always take you longer than you think it's going to. It's not the crispiest fold in place, but it's doing things. I think this might be where I add the lining bit in. No time to think, just do. No, we're being slow and intentional. Why can't I be fast and intentional? god, no. Why? Oh, okay. That normally, it's always when you're in a little bit of a rush when things just don't work smoothly. We are calm, positive, things are gonna work for us. Okay, laying this down with the bad sides facing up. I'm gonna lay this with the bad sides facing down. Oh, that's rude. And I'm pretty much just gonna sew them on top of each other. Let me just watch the next step and see what they're doing.
You're also creating a nice fold line, which will sit within the neckline.
Yes, we are.
Stitch as close to the raw edges as possible.
So this is where I might change things. Interesting.
Pin and stitch or 2 inches.
Oh my god, lots of numbers. Okay, turns out I need this in interfacing and not just actual material. I'm so confused. Is that interfacing? Will the real interfacing please stand up? Please stand up.
Everything you want, but maybe you're not ready for me. Anything you want, so what you gonna say?
I don't know. I'll get it done in time. I'm doing the perfect debut. I'll just wear the half-made one, it's fine. Essentially all I'm doing is just lining up all the raw edges of the neckline and probably the armholes as well, and just sewing these 2 pieces together, making sure that all the good sides are facing outwards, because that's then how we'll just leave it. I could sew it all together as I'm adding the bands on, but I feel like when you're trying to join multiple layers all at once, it just gets hectic. So this is my little preparation for my future self. Look how cute it's gonna be with this lining. Are you serious? I've sewn that line. I need to do the armholes next, but I need to go. So this is where I'm at today. Let's finish her tomorrow. Should we go home? You ready? Come on, we're gonna go. Good boy. Hello, welcome to a new day. Let me tell you what I'm up to. I have sewn all around the neckline and the armhole areas to join the lining onto the outside, so it looks like it's all one layer. But I was just mid meltdown and I thought that's why I would turn the camera on and talk you through my process. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to finish this bottom section, because I think in their tutorial they just do a double rolled hem, which means that the outside will then show on the inside. Is that actually going to be cute, having a bit of the front showing on the back, because the neckline and the armholes are going to show the front side on the back side, if that makes sense. Example would be, that's the armhole bit, it ends up getting folded a little bit, so that's going to end up showing on this side regardless, which again I like. And there's going to be the tie section, which again will be this material. And do I want the edge to just be clean like this as it is, or do I want it to be folded and have that feature and it kind of look intentional? And if I do decide I want a clean finish, do I then need to do the burrito method? It could work to my benefit for the strap section. I have a feeling it's just gonna look more intentional, trying to make it clean, versus if I just do a regular hem. I love the good contrast section, but I just think it's gonna look like it's inside out rather than it looking like it's double-sided. I'm just gonna watch the next few steps forward just to make sure I'm not jumping forward or missing bits and getting ahead of myself and then stuffing up future Maddy. So they've added the neckline. The armholes, I can almost add it like a bias binding, and then the neck is where it's gonna get very convoluted.
Sides together. Pin the bands to the
I feel like I missed a step. So that is open.
each
Oops.
edge.
You lose quite a bit of width there. The little mini ironing board is so cute. Oh my god, my brain is hurting. I think, is that gonna look rank what I'm trying to do? No, that doesn't work. I feel like watching this has made me realize it'll definitely just look like it's inside out if I do the hems like this, which I just want to put a disclaimer, like nothing is wrong with this. If you want just a regular vest, just follow along as they're saying. It's actually very good steps. As the big goal is to make this reversible and not just look like it's inside out, I feel like having regular hems is going to, unfortunately, not achieve my dream. So while I overthink how I'm going to approach that, I've just grabbed my extra material and I'm going to cut out the straps, which I'm intending on adding to the side. I think I want it to be enough so there's a bow and a little bit of hang down, and then also a bit of seam allowance for it to be added in. I think I'm going to cut it at 17 inches, which is 43 centimeters. That is intending for the strap to be about 15. And then for the width, I want the final width to be about 1 inch wide. So I will double that as it's going to be cut in the fold, and then add 1 inch of seam allowance. So each of my straps is going to be 3 inches wide by 17 inches long. I'm going to need 4 straps all up because two tie. 1, 2, 3, 4. I cut out the straps to those dimensions and then laid them good sides facing, sewed across one of the short edges from the folded edge to the raw edge, turned the corner and then went down the entire length and then left the other short end open. And then this is where my paintbrush will come in handy to flip these straps inside out. But essentially I am just sticking the paintbrush on the closed end of the strap, pushing that closed end through the center. If you're like me and have woven material, or even if you have delicate material, just be careful how hard you push it because it might break the material, and then fully unveil it. I could also do a top stitch around all the outer edges if I wanted to keep it nice and flat. I was contemplating some ideas of how I make the neckline reversible, because in the pattern you just sew it good sides together, flip it around, and then you obviously just have the seam allowance showing, and I don't want the seam allowance showing. I feel like I can achieve it for the sleeves, but the collar just has this middle section which I think is going to be challenging. I feel like I've come up with an idea though. I even wrote myself some notes so that I wouldn't forget it, just in case. I may have trialed the burrito method and successfully pulled it off. Now I know it works, I can show you what I did. Also, I pinned one of the shoulder sections in place and the tie strap. I don't know if I'm loving it. It is very thick. Normally in the pattern, all they do is overlap the top section and sew that, and then it does stay open at the bottom half. That's gonna be my backup plan if I end up adding the straps in and not being very impressed with it. I have commitment issues sometimes with just going for things, which is why I think I take so long to do stuff, because I just have to overthink it before I do it. So what are we looking at? This is the side that I've done. As you can see, there is just a clean seam. I'm eventually going to do a top stitch to flatten it all out and iron it, but that is the goal. It looks double-sided. Okay, to achieve that look, we're going to focus back on the side that is fully open. These 3 edges are the ones that I want to be facing good sides, but it's a bit hard because, you know, they're on top of each other and joined at the armholes, so I can't just flip it around. So we're going to do the burrito method, and how we do that is we pull all the rest of the garment and kind of just like clump her there, get her out of the way, and then we're going to essentially wrap it around that. So I flipped it, so now that is the intended side that we want to be facing outwards of the lining. This is the intended side or good side of the outer material, and now they're laying good sides facing. Now obviously the dream would just be sew all 3 edges up, but that means it would just end up being like this and the garment will be hidden in there. So I need to at least leave a section open. I'm actually going to leave 2 sections because I'll end up needing to add the strap in over there, and then I'll make this one just a little bit bigger over here where I can then retrieve the garment out of. Just going to make sure all this inner layer is pushed out of the way and that the edges are nice and flat and matching. For the edge where there's just going to be a strap getting added in, I'll probably only leave about, what's that, almost 2 inches, 5 centimeters open. And then this edge where I'm intending to open it and pull it all out of, just because it's quite a thick bunch in there, I'll probably do like, what, maybe 1/3 of this open, so like that much. And that should be good. So where my needle is, I've got 2 inches or 5 centimeters that I said from that top edge, leaving that gap open. I am doing a wider seam allowance than normal just because I want to lose a little bit of width, and it will just help having more fabric to be able to fold under. Pop the needle in, lift the foot, turn the corner, pop the foot back down, and continue entirely across this bottom edge. Turn the corner. And then I'll just find that larger gap that I left open and begin to just gently pull out sections. If you pull it all out in one go, obviously it's just going to be far too much traffic coming through, flowing through this small opening. So just grab little bits, pull it, be gentle. Probably even put my arm through that hole we left open and push out the corners as well. And therefore it looks double-sided. So I'm going to be hiding the raw end within this seam. Just for consistency, I'm going to place that seam edge facing downwards. I have tucked under the seam allowance that needs to be sewn in place to make it look like the seam continues up. I'll just slot it in, positioned it about 2 centimeters or 3/4 of an inch off from the armhole section. So that's my first strap done. I pinned that in place. That's the sewing line from the underside and then from the top side. Side 1 done. Side 2 in progress. This is where we're at. Little tie sides coming together. Top stitch has been done. So literally the whole bottom half is done. Ready to go as is. Now I'm just gonna add the collar and the armhole section. So I'm gonna fold this good sides facing, so down the short ends as close as I possibly can to the edge because I wanna lose as minimal amount of length as I can. I pinned it all in place to double check that I'm on the right track. And I feel like this is definitely why the girls have suggested stretch material in the pattern, because this piece is a bit smaller than I need it to be to fit along this area. I could just cut out a whole new piece with a few extra inches of the length. I just feel like that's so wasteful. These pieces are perfect except for the length. So I'm gonna have the fronts sitting where I want them to, and then I'm just gonna add an extra couple of inches on the back of the straps. It has me stressing a little bit about the neckline now. But again, I can just pre-pin it and make sure. Oh my God. I would love to trial some wearable tech while I'm sewing and see what my heart rate is like when I'm sewing thick fabrics, because my goodness, the stress. It has come together how I wanted it, which I'm very happy about. We had a few hurdles. There were some questionable moments, but look, we made it through. What I did to get here is I ended up adding on the extra 3 inches to each of these panels. I just laid them good sides facing, sewed a seam, flattened it out, and then I went back to closing the end edge by folding it in half and sewing down the 2 short edges with the good sides facing, flipping it out to show all the good sides outwards. And that will just help have these clean edges, which are sitting at the very end of the underarm section. And then essentially just aligned the raw edges of this armhole panel to the actual armhole with the good sides facing, and then just pinned it around, matched it, and sewed across that line from the beginning to the end. That was fairly nice and simple. One detail that you might just need to zone in on is just making sure that you get the edge of the armhole panel in line with the edge of the garment. Once I sewed that line to secure it in place, I then just flipped it around so that I'm now looking at the lining side or the checkered side, pushed all the good sides of these corner edges and flipped the panel so it is sitting on top of the seam that we just created. And what I'm going to do is tuck the raw edges. There is a terminology for this. I will maybe try and find it. But what I essentially do is tuck the raw edge of this armhole panel that I'm adding on underneath and continue that the whole length of this panel. And then we just pin that in place and sew a line to secure it all there. I have no idea if there is a global go-to, but in my mind, feel like there's 2 places that you could sew it. You could sew the edge so that the under stitch shows on the main panel of this vest, or you can move it to the side, which might accidentally end up revealing the existing sewing line, so just keep that in mind. I personally like to sew so the underline is sitting directly on the main panel of the vest. Armhole is all clean, looks pretty much exactly the same on both sides. Means I have achieved my double-sided look on the armhole. Now I just need to try and repeat that process for the neckline. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing where I lay it good sides facing, sew the one line, do the tuck under method, except the one challenge that I'm going to have. I love that I've just left the most challenging part to last. Just, the last final meltdown before I get to wear it. I've changed a few things from their recommendation. Surprise, surprise. So originally they closed the end before you add it on. Same thing, just so it's all seen as one panel and much easier to add on. I'm going to keep it all separated, unfold it, and then aim to sew this entirely around with the good sides facing. That's what we're here for. I'm your little guinea pig trying things out. Okay, I pinned it in place. Definitely going to need to add more. Once again, not their problem. This is purely my problem and not using stretch material. A massive chunk of rain and wind has just made its way over, so it's torrential. Well, it's been a few days since I've been in the studio because the weather just decided to go torrential rain for like 3 days straight. Literally just down to the final thing, it just started pouring. It like blacked out. I just didn't feel like worth filming the last bit. I honestly have about 2, maybe max 3 lines to sew and then I'm done. All right, let's go. I think the rest of this video, I should just keep quoting online memes. Well, I've pinned it in place. That's good. Wow. Go, Maddy. Go, Kylie, go. I'm done. I had a terrible sleep last night, so I feel like I'm like just really on the edge. If I didn't explain it, let me explain it now. I've pinned it good sides facing with all the external material. I'm going to sew across the bottom short edge with the good sides facing, and then I'll have to turn the corner and figure that situation out and then continue around the whole neckline with the good sides facing. There's going to be 2 stray bits of the neckline that I need to figure out whether I'm going to join them and hide them or just like tuck them away and they naturally get hidden in the next process. But we'll figure that out when we get to it. So let's just sew this line. 1 line across there, back stitch at the beginning and the end, just along this short edge, just to make sure that that's all nice and aligned. Then I can remove it. It's gonna look bunched up and weird all around it, but as long as where my needle is, that's nice and flat, that's all that matters. Honestly, I feel like we can take some wisdom from that in life. Wherever our needle is in life. I'm so sorry, but wherever our needle is in life, just focus on that. Whatever's around you, it doesn't matter. You have control over your own needle and your own life. No, I'm actually unwell. I'm on the home stretch. I hope this makes sense where I am. So this is the last edge. That, when it unfolds, will be the short edge, and that's the edge that goes back up on the other side. So this is where I started here, that one line there. So I'm going to fold the starting edge and the finishing edge so that they meet, and essentially try and sew up to the point where that stitch line is over there. Okay, so this is what we're looking at. I have sewn along that short edge entirely around here, the whole neckline, and then lined it up so where that stitch along the short edge starts, the final stitch ends pretty much in line with that. There's no gap there when I unfold those 2 edges. They meet perfectly. That was all laying good sides facing as I did that. So now that edge of the collar is joined. These 2 edges here are going to be stuck in the middle, and that one I will eventually join to the other side. So what I'm thinking is I grab these 2 raw edges that are going to sit in the middle, face them good sides facing, and just sew across there. Might get messy trying to show you this, but that's now the 2 raw edges aligned. I'll just sew from that existing line across there to where the point is, about 1 centimeter off that point. And that will leave this edge free to join to the other side. Now it comes time to flipping it all over. This is genuinely going to be the final sewing line. And I'm going to repeat the process kind of similar to what I did with the armholes, where I flip all these edges out. I'll do the 1 fold, I guess equivalent to a hem, and then place that down, and then I'll just go around and pin. Tuck, place, pin. If the Wiggles and children's shows taught us anything, sometimes you just gotta have a little jingle to go with your activity. If you've made it this far in the tutorial and you're also persisting through my delirious state of mind, you are a true hero. Successfully have aligned this side. Now let me show you up close what we got going over here. Tucking that, placing it. There's the line that attached the other side. So I'm just placing it a little bit past it so when I sew it, again, that sewing line will kind of be on this panel. If you sew on this side of the line, that's when it will land on this panel, which it can look nice. I just get scared that this sewing line ends up showing. So I just tuck it a little bit past and then sew as close as I can to this edge. I've tucked, placed and pinned all the side edges. Then the final one, I'm hoping will be nice and easy. It'll just be this bottom layer, which look, she might want to shuffle around a bit. She's going to be so thick in there. There's 2, 4, maybe 6, so many layers of material. Holy dooly, the vision is visioning. And because oh my God, and because I sewed that good sides together, there is no, like if I had just tucked it, there would have been raw edges hanging out. Wow, genius. I'm going to cross the short line around the tire edge, just making sure that I just secure this all down. And then we're done. Oh my gosh. Okay, it's kind of adorable. I took my shirt off and I'm trying it on its own because, you know, it could be worn as a top. I keep flip-flopping between if I like the tie sides or not. I feel like it kind of makes it a little bit frumpy. Like, would it just sitting on top of each other and a bit flatter and then flaring out from there be cute? Like, one part of me loves it. The other part of me is like, no. Guys, I think I prefer it without. That just looks way simpler. Oh, and then it will finish those edges really nicely. Just when you thought you were done, you got one more thing to do. Well, anyway, at least I showed you how to add the straps in. This woven wool material, naturally, it's just going to want to sit puffier. Like, I have ironed these straps down and they're still sitting puffy. I'm going to unpick the sections where the straps are, and then I'll show you where I line it up and just sew one simple line on each side to join it. I feel like that is a tip if you are making something and you just have this feeling that you're not enjoying how it sits on you or like the finishing detail. I think it's so worthwhile just to workshop it to get it to fit how you want it to, because I definitely find there's pieces that I've made, I'm like, oh, that's fine, you know, I'll work around it. You don't work around it. You don't reach for it. You don't want to style it because it doesn't make you feel good. It's better to make little changes that you're like, wow, I'm so excited to wear that as is. I don't need to pin it a certain way or only wear it with one garment that I have in my wardrobe. There you go. That's my little tidbit for you. Unpicking time. So this is the edge that I have unpicked open. There's a little hole, so I will just sew across there in line with the existing line. The vest is all done. Where did I leave you? I did the final line of adding this neckline in, and it came together how I wanted it to. I definitely feel like because of the thick material and just like lots of things being everywhere, my line did get a little bit wobbly towards the end there. So there's this section here that I might unpick and redo, but that's fine. I just wanted to get it done, see if it worked how I intended it to, and it did. To be honest, I've worn it for the past couple of days out in the wild, and I wore it with the gingham side showing, this side showing. I feel like it's so fun to be able to have like two pieces in one, and they give off a different vibe. Like this one is giving me kind of like preppy, put together. I even wore it without anything underneath it, and I liked that. And then the other side, I feel like if I've got a plain outfit and I want to add a bit of warmth, like actual warmth for the layer, but then also warmth for the aesthetic and a bit of fun character, that's where that comes into play. So satisfying. We end up with a bit of a needle graveyard trying to finish off this last joining piece. It gets real thick around there and the machine was really struggling. So anyway, I'm gonna leave you guys there. Hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, let me know below. I'm so excited to add this essential to my wardrobe. If you did happen to create something similar or you're inspired by this, don't forget to tag me at the Essentials Club, as I always love seeing your creations inspired by my videos. Hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are, and I'll see you guys in the upcoming videos. Bye!